Hello and a very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, on EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism from the capital, Addis Ababa. Once again, this is the weekly Viewpoint. You'll go to space for fresh perspective on the latest trends shaping Ethiopia's politics, the economy and society at large. I'm your host, Biniam Getana, and I'm very much thrilled you could join us. Today also, I've got a special treat this week. For the very first time, I'm joined by my colleague, my namesake, and the one and only Biniam Alemayo, Deputy Editor-in-Chief from the English TV newsroom. Together, Biniam and I will be unpacking two major talking points that stood out from Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's address to the Parliament yesterday. Now, before we dive, here is a quick preview of what is ahead. First and foremost, we are going to explore Ethiopia's impressive economic momentum, including the government's bold vision to make the country Africa's largest economy within the next decade, and the ambitious 30 billion Guba bounties projects driving that vision forward. Then, in the second half of our discussion, we will shift the gear to a topic that is, of course, sparked by plenty of debates: Ethiopia's ongoing push for access to the sea, and emphasized in the Prime Minister's remarks. So once again, stay tuned. We've got also a lot of things to unpack. And what is more, let's not jump into the very point of the idea, but we have also several issues, and make sure that you can connect it with us on 104.7 as well. And you can also find us on our social media platform, www.ebc104.7. And a lot more interesting point will be addressed to you, as I am joined by my special colleague, Biniam Alemayo. So, Bini, a very warm welcome once again. It's good to have you on the board.
Thank you, quite flattered, and really you're showering lots of things on me. And I would like to throw a word of thanks to you for doing this. It's really entertaining, very glad to be here to contribute to Ethiopia's overall development and being a part of this conversation on big national issues, and for being able to appear, to show up on this special edition dedicated to these two pressing issues. So I'll be reflecting on the first part of the show, that is the macroeconomic development in general, and the PM's rosy picture about the stunning developments.
Interesting.
Accepted.
Yeah, once again, as I'm so grateful to have you on behalf of the show, and of course, the compliment, make sure that's not a backhanded compliment. And then
no way.
Once again, Bini, thank you so much. And so, as we know, yesterday, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has addressed several issues, underscoring the significant progress of Ethiopia's, potential in terms of economy and many other things that we're going to delve into down the road. So, tell us more about, the Prime Minister made quite ambitious statement about Ethiopia's becoming Africa a top economy by 2036. And could you possibly tell us more how this is more than just an optimistic forecast, and what are the real and tangible factors backing this bold claim?
Okay, very good question. So you shot at me, let me shoot back.
Sure.
Now, if I may, please allow me to give you a little bit of a background to our audience regarding the Ethiopian calendar and how a fiscal year, a single fiscal year, or what we call a budget year, is considered within the framework of an Ethiopian calendar. So this 2017, let's for example say we're delving into 2017 Ethiopian fiscal year. Where did it start? So it starts on Hamle 1 of 2016. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And 2018, it started on Hamle 1 or July 8 of 2025. And it's expected to expire 1 year from now. That is July 7, 2026. So that constitutes what's inside the 2025-2026 Ethiopian fiscal year.
Interesting.
So we'll be dwelling more on this one. That's one of the unique aspects of the Ethiopian calendar. So yesterday's discussion, it was very special. The PM expounded. He poured out a lot of issues during his discussion with the lawmakers. And let me dwell on very interesting points.
Yeah.
So, like I said in the introductions, he drew or painted a rather rosy picture of the Ethiopian economy, how it was expected to catapult to become the first or the biggest one in the continent come 2036. So he was saying to the parliamentarians that he was exceptionally confident that this is going to happen by 2036. And these were not just mere words over exaggeration or just a heavy promise, but they were backed up by what we call tangible aspects. And so he was saying that it will become Africa's leading economy, but for that to happen, there's a milestone along the way, and it comes by 2032. By then, Ethiopia is expected to become the second largest in the continent. Once this is out of the way, you stare directly into 2036.
Sure.
That is when you can become Africa's biggest or largest economy. And the stage for that is set by what the government expects to achieve by 2032, like I told you, becoming the second largest economy. This is up from Ethiopia's current position of one of the top 10 in Africa. This is where we stand.
Yeah.
But in 10 years or in a decade's time, we're going to turn into the largest economy in Africa. This is quite an achievement if it happens. But for this to happen, there are tangible progresses to be made. And how are these going to be made? So he highlighted on the MPs on this ones. So first, there's this unwavering commitment on the part of the government towards realizing growth and particularly pushing forward towards an accelerated economic growth. And then there's a fundamental policy shift because he was saying that there were policies and practices in Ethiopia which hindered growth. How it happens was that these policies and practices leaned more or leaned heavily on pushing Ethiopia's debt up from time to time. And of course, they fueled instability. So he was saying we need a way out of this. There's a policy shift to be made. And for that to happen, there's again there's a three-pronged approach. First, we have this aggressive infrastructural development, to which I dwell on during the second half of my presentation, and then comprehensive macroeconomic reform or program, and there is this direct assault or a war of aggression on what is known as the culture of dependency.
Sure.
This is what I'm going to turn my attention to. But first, debt management. How is debt to be managed? Because, you know, this is a nation crushing under the weight of debt for quite long, and we need to restructure this. And unless this is done, unless this is quite out of the way, there's no way that Ethiopia is going to see the light of the day in regards to what the PM was saying, becoming the second largest in Africa, much less the biggest in Africa, you know. Even to maintain your current status of one of the top 10 in Africa, the weight should be lifted. The weight from the debt accumulation should be lifted. But how's that going to happen? Because the previous governments did what is known as heavy reliance on short-term loans. Short-term, but high-pressure loans.
Sure.
So when you borrow it, it's easier for you because it's a short amount of time for you to return, and then the amount is small, but it keeps accumulating because there's some sort of a comfort zone for the governments to lean on it, to stay in it for quite long. But the current strategy is going to be a big shift away from this. So what is known as a long-term borrowing. Ethiopia is going to borrow, but on a long-term basis. First, you have to clear these ones, these short-term loans. He was saying that since assuming power in 2018, this administration has never touched a single penny from its national reserve, from its creditors in terms of short-term loans. So it's a thing of the past now, but the current strategy is to rely on effective debt structuring through a long-term but lower pressure loan. This is, as is the case with the major macro economies around the world or global economies. And as far as the debt structuring is concerned, he told the MPs that Ethiopia has successfully negotiated. Ethiopia has effectively knocked off some $4 to $5 billion of its national debt. This is thanks to extensive negotiations with creditors. And he also emphasized that single short-term loan from now onwards is a thing of the past.
Yeah.
We'll not dwell on it. We'll not drag our feet in that road. And then there's fiscal discipline. By fiscal discipline, he means it's been 8 years, close to 8 years, since this administration has never touched a penny of short-term loans. So it's going to stay like this. It's how you discipline yourself towards a long-term development and long-term policy. So this is thanks to Ethiopia's renewed commitment towards long-term loans. And the creditors have been issuing statements regarding how Ethiopia has been restructuring its debt, meeting its obligations. Ethiopia is a country to be trusted. We have no problems paying our debts. There's also no issue when it comes to Ethiopia meeting its development objectives and its commitment towards its creditors. Particularly the Eurobond providers or the Eurobond holders have been very much willing to provide Ethiopia with whatever it needed, because Ethiopia has been successfully meeting its commitment in that regard. Now, to turn my attention to what is known as aggressive war on dependency. Yeah. He was saying that these are past practices which leaned heavily on borrowing, expecting aid from the outside world. So there's this aid-centric approach and mindset in the past. So he was saying that this is a syndrome.
It is.
It is a syndrome, and you have to deal with it. You need to knock this off.
Yeah, we need to nip it in the bud, despite the long term.
Nip it in the bud, or you'll stay in it. It's a mud. You have the option of snapping out of it or staying in it, squelching in the mud. He was saying that is not going to happen. So the aid-centric mindset must be eroded. And how do we do this? Again, a three-pronged approach of self-reliance, productivity, and hard work, and not dependency. So I want to sum this up. He was saying that these past practices have caused Ethiopia a lot of pain. The nation has paid dearly, but now thanks to our complete shift towards long-term development goal and strategy, we'll be snapping out of it, and we will be in a decade's time, and God willing, Ethiopia is to become Africa's largest economic powerhouse, and there is no force on earth to stop it from happening.
Thank you, Bini.
So
that was really insightful, as you've explored all the very important points underscored by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Also adding here on flavor, that is, of course, what's happening on the ground is not only intangible evidence that has been presented to the member of the parliament. And of course, if I may add, you've mentioned very critical pointers. So the economic milestone you just mentioned are truly highlighted the impressive growth of our country, and we've seen that across several sectors, including agriculture, manufacturing, and industry. All these are propelled by the homegrown economic reform, and the Prime Minister also pointed out that this marks a real turning point for Ethiopia, which is a shift from a service-led economy toward this one that is more diversified, dynamic, and driven by good production. Maybe let me give you 1 second to strengthen this one.
Oh, sure. Previously, it used to be agri-led economy, agriculture-led economy. So there was this ADLI, various other programs to help Ethiopia move towards service sector, service-led economy. But then there's this need, mushrooming around this time. You need to diversify your economy so that agriculture is supported because whether we like it or not, it still feeds the bulk of your population.
Sure.
But then service sector stands alone. Service wants to be fed. The service needs to support the economy in a way that is unprecedented before. Mix the two together with industry. Agriculture, by the way, is one type of industry.
Exactly.
But what we're talking about is the kind of mining industry, export industry in general, service industry, and then the industry as a whole, the manufacturing industry in general.
Sure, using industrial mechanisms to transform the country's progress.
Oh yeah. So all these together must align and support the economy. When that happens, this is diversified enough to feed itself, and then push export up, so that's quite a change in how the economy stands as far as the globe and Ethiopia's place and Africa is concerned.
Indeed. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching our weekly Viewpoint, a platform where ideas meets insight, and the most pressing issues are dissected, illuminated and debated on EBC Wallet, the voice of Pan-Africanism. For the first time, I'm joined by the one and only Biniam Alemayo from the English news session that he is expounding the recent talks that has been addressed by the parliament, by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, make sure you can follow this discussion on EBC 104.7, the voice of Pan-Africanism from the capital Addis Ababa. In the meantime, you can follow us on our social media platform, www.ebc104.7 again. Or you can also follow us on Zeno FM as you are going to explore the Google transmission. And this is EBC World, of course, bringing you all the latest highlights and focusing what is trendy, particularly as Biniam spoke at length the very important points raised by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. He gave it its own touches. So, Bini, let's now turn our attention or our focus on Ethiopia's strategic mega project, the game changers that are transforming the nation's economic landscape and laying the groundwork for generations to come. What points do you have to share?
Okay, thanks. Again, if you allow me, a bit of a backgrounder. Because what are these big mega projects, sprawling, mushrooming, popping up, but how did they come? Where did they come from? That sort of thing. Let me shed light.
Reflecting the back end now.
Sure. Let me shed some lights on it.
Please.
So you remember that Ethiopia's biggest achievement as far as the 2017 fiscal year is concerned was the commissioning of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD at Guba, Benishangul Gumus. This is said to be Africa's largest upon completion. Now it's completed. Now Ethiopia has become not just a regional but Africa's major powerhouse thanks to the inauguration that took 14 years of relentless effort, nearly 2 decades of the nation's effort, the nation's quest, the nation's pursuit has been invested.
The talk has been walked.
The talk has been walked, finally, by September 2025. Now that the GERD is out of the way, there are projects which you need to ensure the nation's continued growth and setting the foundations for generations to come, as well as transformative ventures that reshape Ethiopia's future and destiny. So these are $30 billion projects, giga projects that were unleashed or unpacked for the first time when the GERD was being commissioned in front of African leaders, the Ethiopian people, the world. The world danced and sang along with us. It was not just our joy.
The narration has been altered, actually.
Reshaped, set, and reset, really. Everyone was delighted. But then what next? Now the human mind has this never-ceasing or unceasing quest for what is going to come in the future.
Exactly.
You need takeaways from the GERD.
Exactly.
So what came in the form of takeaways? These $30 billion projects. So we have a lot of these which were announced at Guba. So the PM coined the term the Guba bounties. That's why we call them Guba. Guba is just the name of the place where the GERD has been set, where the GERD was
the source,
set up. So that's how we call them the Guba bounties. We have several of these projects that are going to alter the nation's progress. These are game changers in the real sense of the term. So we have first the Ogaden LNG project, that is phase 2 of the project. It's in Kalub of Somali State. And when operational, it's expected to produce or add 1.33 billion liters per year to the national gas production. And this builds on the recently inaugurated phase 1, which already produces 111 million liters annually. This is already in production, but I'm talking about phase 2 in Kalub of Somali State. And then this urea fertilizer project, still in Gode, Somali State. So that is going to contribute 3 million tons of fertilizer per year. What happens? When this happens, this potentially doubles agricultural productivity of the nation and significantly reduces import dependence. And then the oil refinery project, once again we're hovering over the Somali State. This is being set by the cooperation of Golden Concord Group, GCL, along with the government, and then is set to produce 3.5 million tons of oil annually upon being operational, of course. And that's such a short period of time, as the PM announced during his latest visit to the Somali State to commission or lay the cornerstone for this project. And of course, the $10 billion much talked about Ethiopian Airlines mega airport in Bishoftu, because as you very well know, for quite long, Ethiopia's runway or Ethiopia's airport was concentrated around the Bole area. Now it's being saturated.
It is.
Thanks to the traffic, congestion, the heavy, Ethiopia's heavy presence in the continent, because it's the leading airliner in Africa. And you cannot afford to stay in this runway, which was started by the emperor. When we was started, Bole used to be a far-off place in Addis Ababa, the farthest place, if you want. So now that's no longer the case. Bole is the heart of Addis Ababa, and you cannot afford to continue using Bole. So you need something of a resort. Debre Zeit or Bishoftu provides it. And that's where the project is to be built. So this 21 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves coming from the Somali State. These resources will be vital for industrialization, energy generation, and long-term economic growth. In turn, when I sum it up, I would like to reiterate that all these projects combined are going to help speed up Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform agenda. That's what he was telling the lawmakers.
Interesting, Bini. I wish I could add more, but you have already, broke down all the very essential points addressed by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed during the parliamentary session addressing to the members.
Took it right out of your tongue.
Exactly. That was really nice. I think practically the Prime Minister not only have reported, but shows the great leadership quality that action become, words have become action, and that in mind, what does it tell at the end of the day? Like, what do other countries recognize, having seen the developmental activities practically happening in the continent, in the country like Ethiopia, with the leadership? And what is the future like? What do you think? Maybe you can have your own take on.
It's all about, actions speak louder than words. You may promise, you may pledge, but don't overpromise. It's much better to overcommit yourself towards the realization of projects.
What pleases me most is the promise has been delivered, and then according to the Prime Minister, the journey will continue despite the disparities of opinions and many other things coming along the way. That's very interesting. What are we left now?
This tells us that Ethiopia is on the right track of development, and we summed it up as being one of the bases for Ethiopia's future growth. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is EBC World coming to you live from Addis Ababa, Africa's diplomatic capital, and this is the Viewpoint, our weekly gateway to trending issues. We talk about economics, politics, microeconomy, society, and whatnot. And I'm your host, Biniam Alamayo, along with my namesake, Paul Biniam Getana. And as we delve into the second part of our discussion, we'll be dwelling more on Ethiopia's unceasing quest to have sea access, a sea outlet. Ethiopia is saying this is a peaceful path, but non-negotiable. It's a relentless pursuit, which is 2 years old now, since the PM first unleashed it. About 2 years ago when he met the lawmakers. But then, and now it's been 2 years, and what is left for Ethiopia to achieve in this regard? And what is Ethiopia's relentless pursuit to gain access to the sea looking like, as the PM shed light on it during yesterday's stay? Would you mind sharing that with us or expounding a little more on it?
Thank you, Bini. Once again, I'm honored to have you on this discussion, as we are, deliberately looking at significant stories unfolding in Ethiopia, especially looking at the, tremendous changes that the country is, registering in terms of political differences, as well as, developing issues that have been developing and changing the entire continent, the country in general. So, of course, this the question that has been asked by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed from the very onset, if you remember, when the Prime Minister came out and said that Ethiopia, it's a high time that Ethiopia would like to request this, sea outlet. It's a very fundamental issue. You know what happened? There has been, idea differences. There has been a commotion, and lots of people have been saying a lot of things. Much has been said by scholars, much has been written, much has been published, and there are two kinds of ideas. Some support that now it's going to be the time that Ethiopia will go to war, because this is the one way that Ethiopia could secure access to seas. But war is not a solution. And from the very onset, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has been underscoring the importance of having sea access, whether we like it or not. There could have been misunderstanding. I think it was that misunderstanding that put people in a baffling situation. So when you see it from geography point of view, when you see it from historical point of view, the Prime Minister has underscored time and again that it's a high time that we have to think outside of the box, and we have to see a country to progress forward. And a very important point that he raised is this one. So we can see a lots of important ideas and how landlocked countries are not, privileged when they are encountering several issues. When a country does not have, sea access, it is, clear that they will encounter several, problems. So I like to say this point by just reading what is it here. For example, here it says, economists explain this, that lacking direct sea access or having not such kind of, experience is like carrying an albatross around nation snake. Meaning that when you are an albatross around people's snake or nation snake, you are going to expect a lot from people. You are going to depend on other people. And then your chance of claiming as a self-reliant country is questionable. Despite other development issues happening in the country, having sea access is pretty much important, because when you see a country is, when we say an albatross around another country's neck, it is due to lack of sea. It means that it is trapped in economic dependency, unable to fully control trade or leveraging its resources. So this is a kind of a chronic problem, vulnerability. It shows vulnerability, and it slows also the growth of the country, and it costs a lot of income and limits the national sovereignty of the country. So responding to the questions raised by the members of the parliament yesterday, the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed underscored very critical issues along the way. Of course, for a country like Ethiopia with 130 million population, the question of sea outlets is something which we call it make it or break it.
Yeah,
it's a time
project
that we have to say make it or break it. So the Prime Minister, scholars, many other people who knows the country's history and the importance of seaport have hammered the issue. Of course, as the Prime Minister have said, there was distorted narration, and then having this one is not a luxury for the Prime Minister who says this one. Regaining sea access is not only a question of geography. It's about economic survival and regional stability pursued through peaceful and lawful means. So, in his response to the parliament yesterday, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed underscored that Ethiopia's loss of sea access decades ago, or whatever years we name it there, of course he says 30 years, was very illegal and unjust. And occurring without the consent of the Ethiopian people, occurring without the will of Ethiopian people. There was no a clear document. Everything that he said was nullified. So the Ethiopian people were not showing willingness or consent. There wasn't a clear consent that shows Ethiopia has lost because of this and other reasons. So the Prime Minister was asking this one, Ethiopia has a legit right to claiming. So he was highlighting the point that Ethiopia is asserting that the claim is grounded not only in history but also in law and legitimacy. So according to the Prime Minister, this statement means that Ethiopia's claim to the sea access is legal and historically justified. So by emphasizing the loss of sea access happened without the consent of the Ethiopian people or the parliament, he's signaling the fact that the previous arrangements were illegitimate and they were not agreed upon through proper legal and political processes. So if there was, of course, the Prime Minister would have altered his opinion, but as he goes by, he announced the idea that there was a document that was nullifying the Ethiopians and how the country lost its seaport. So in practical terms, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed asserts that Ethiopia has a legit or a rightful claim to the Red Sea based on history, law, and geography, not only on economic interests. And he was actually considering it as a matter of sovereignty and justice. Because these days, if you are economically a strong nation, the probability of claiming as a sovereign country is not only because you're not colonized, you have to be economically strong. You need to strengthen your economy by hook or by crook. And one of the very things to make it true is having sea access. So the Prime Minister's speech was implying that Ethiopia is justified in seeking to restore this access. So what does, again, mean by that when the Prime Minister was underscoring that? To put it in a nutshell, this is not a dispute over sentiment or nostalgia. The Prime Minister was requesting the fact that reclaiming these legal rights was taken away under the improper circumstances, and doing it through legal, peaceful, and diplomatic manner is Ethiopia's stance. So the Prime Minister, or according to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, regaining access to the Red Sea is not only a matter of justice, but also economic and strategic necessity. So it would allow Ethiopia directly handle different kind of advantage. Once a country is, not landlocked, you have the luxury of exporting your things, and you can have also trade connectivity, and your logistic is going to be strong, and it can also, at the end of the day, strengthen regional economic integration. So the very bottom line is what we mean by economic integration is important for countries. For various countries around the world, economic integration is very important. And how about for Ethiopia? And of course, it is a question that has to be left for discussion. Well, everyone wants to develop. Ethiopia wants to develop, and what the government is doing right now is quite instrumental. So there are 4 key reasons in this case that why economy integration is pretty much important, both generally and specifically for countries like Ethiopia, aligning with the Prime Minister's vision. So if you've heard, actually, if we go and see beyond what the Prime Minister have said, we can state the importance of having sea access can contribute for the development of the country in several ways. One very important thing is it can have trade efficiency and market access. So countries will have a trade efficiency and market access. What does it mean? It means economic integration allows different countries to trade more freely and reduce tariff, and as well as trade transportation. The transport barriers are going to be reduced. And also, for Ethiopia, what does it mean? This means faster, cheaper transport and cheaper movement of goods, especially if the sea access is secured. We can boost our economy exports, and we can make Ethiopians' products more competitive, despite the potential that the country has. So we are producing, okay, whatever product is, you name them. But there could be other countries who would like to come and be part of it. So for that, this is going to make the situation quite easier. So the Prime Minister wants this to happen as a regional and global market. So it's very much important. And the other thing is shared structure, shared infrastructure, saying connectivity. Now countries are connected together through trade, through politics, and many other pointers. So integration encouraged. Integration is very important. Why? Integration is quite important in investment. Integration is very important in roads. Integration is very important in railways. Integration is very important in port development. Integration is very essential in energy networks. So coming back to what the Prime Minister addressed during the parliamentary session, while responding to the queries raised by the parliamentary members, particularly focusing on a special stress on this one, this is directly reflects the Prime Minister's vision of regional independence. The country regionally should be independent, where Ethiopia is growing energy and industrial capacity can serve neighbors, creating mutual economic benefits. Now, let me take you back to the inaugural session of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. So, when the GERD was, before the GERD was completed, you know what the media was, the Western media. We're talking about different countries, particularly when it comes to Egypt. There has been ungrounded and unlawful discussions presented by their scholars. So at the end of the day, when the GERD is completed, when the talks become worked, it is becoming serving other countries. Now GERD is not only supporting Ethiopia, rather it's expanding itself and connecting other African nations, because Ethiopia is selling energy to neighboring countries. What does that mean? That apart from trade, it can strengthen diplomacy. It can strengthen people-to-people relations, regional integration. So it's quite important, and this directly, aligns with the Prime Minister's visions. And then, in other words, also we can see the foreign exchange and economic instability. A country to claim that a self-independent, despite all the resources, unless stability is there, nothing is going to be working out. So in this case, linking the economies, countries can actually diversify trade and reduce also vulnerability to shocks. So what does it mean for Ethiopia? For Ethiopia, deeper regional trade and cooperation can help stabilize the birr we have. And it can also expand foreign currencies, influence and support macroeconomic resilience. So Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed often highlights several ideas in connection with what I have said. He has been talking about we will do this one through peaceful diplomatic manner. So peace, cooperation, and regional influence come in the class of their own. So, speaking of the economic integration, as I've been saying it, one thing, it can foster dialogue and it can share also prosperity. Through dialogue and a shared prosperity, no country shows a tendency of going to the war because their benefits are, there already. They can exchange through trades, it can strengthen diplomacy. So at the end of the day, these countries can prosper. And that's also what the Africa we want is all about. When countries are, connected together, we see the Africa we want. So the Prime Minister is underscoring this is a time that we need to do things or do it in a way without, bleaching international laws, rather keeping the diplomacy and going forward, achieving or, stressing Ethiopia's unwavering commitment in accessing the seaports. So the Prime Minister, if I have to say it at length, he was emphasizing on peaceful negotiation over the Red Sea. That is fitting to the logic that the economic cooperation is a path to a lasting peace for a country like Ethiopia, and that could help, and in turn, the mutual growth and stronger regional unity. The fact that the economic integration is central to Abiy's vision, because he's been stressing this point, and at the end of the day, it becomes a self-reliant, yet regionally connected Ethiopia. Because landlocked countries, they don't have that much chances. Of course, we still have time to get connected with other countries, but when you are more landlocked country, the whole world may not have time to recognize it. So what the Prime Minister is
getting saturated.
Exactly, is a time that we have to, compete in the meantime, but progressively, diplomatically sort of this problem. So in essence, PM Abiy is saying that, or he sees this a way to boost national economic sovereignty, support growth, and secure Ethiopia's long-term development, all pursued through what? Through peaceful negotiation and legal channels. And economically also, you can see it from international law point of view. So the Prime Minister underscored access to the sea is a strategic necessity, time and again. Not only yesterday, but also on the days, and also it was explained briefly on his recently book, Maddemer State, how Ethiopia's unwavering stand is going to be achieving its importance of having sea access. So having a direct route to the sea would drastically enhance efficiency and reduce all those negative barriers. So according to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, regaining access to the sea is a game changer for Ethiopia's economy, and also it strengthens the economic sovereignty, reduces dependency. So it stimulates at the end of the day also the industrial growth. That's what I feel. So to make the long story very short, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed also emphasized on peaceful negotiations and collaboration with Eritrea, signaling a very deliberate and strategic approach. And he has been saying Eritrean people are our brothers, our families. We have had a long-standing relationship, historically, politically, and we have seen these people they are two faces of the same coin. And the government of Ethiopia did not have any evil intention to get a sea access through a diplomatic way, rather a peaceful, collaborative manner that at the end of the day benefits the two countries. I think this is something that everyone should give applause for, because you need to get things in a manner that can collaborate the two. So at the end of the day, the two countries can prosper. They can exchange trade relationship, they can strengthen their diplomatic relationship, but other factors are already there. So the Prime Minister was clearly asserting that it's quite important for Ethiopia to get this Red Sea, and not through confrontational, not through war, not through unwanted and political discussion.
Head-on collision.
So in the context of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed implies that Ethiopia is pursuing the Red Sea access claim is through diplomatic and legal channel.
Okay, that's quite revealing, Bini. And if I get your drift, Ethiopia's relentless pursuit of access to the sea is propelled by three different considerations or needs. First, we have the survival issue. It's a question of survival. And then it's also a matter of justice, because Ethiopia lost it in the wrongest of circumstances back in 1993. And then it's also snatched away by improper circumstances. So it's also a matter of economic prosperity, or it's a necessity for us to secure access to the sea. But this is going to happen peacefully and also legally. But it remains non-negotiable. Getting access to the sea is a matter that's not going to be put on the table for discussion. Okay, but not to change or alter Ethiopia's relentless quest. This is going to become the road ahead, the future for generations to come, as far as Ethiopia is concerned, but only legally and diplomatically.
Yeah,
as
if
the
you see
PM,
it also
put
from a legal and diplomatic legitimacy point of view, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed focuses on legal frameworks, dialogue that can actually demonstrate Ethiopia's readiness to engage in a recognized international process. So far, that's what the government is unwaveringly doing, leaving all no stone unturned, and then that's how it is going on. So this, for Ethiopia, helps to strengthen Ethiopia's credibility on the global stage, signaling to partners, investors, neighboring countries, and the country is also committed to rule-based solutions. And that's what the government of Ethiopia is doing. And from international law point of view also, the landlocked countries do have the privilege to use whenever they wanted it. But now, to make more things very soft and, bilaterally mutual, Ethiopia is doing or requesting this through diplomatic means, which is of course aligning with the international law. So I think it's a high time that all Ethiopian people have to stand together, advocate what the Prime Minister is saying. It's not politics. You don't need to be a politician to support the reality. You need to be a citizen of this country who sees the logic and come out with a new perspective. Perhaps materials or some documents may not be truly revealed for you to understand the kind of wrong narration that happened some time ago. So it's high time. Let's look back, see the ultimate interest of Ethiopia, and advocate that a time for Ethiopia is now, as the country is achieving prosperity, registering remarkable results. We see every African country's leaders, diplomats around the world are speaking the truth, that witnessing the fact that Ethiopia's leadership is on a practical terms is moving forward. And now, if we have trade, connectivity with other countries because of the access to the sea, you can imagine a tremendous achievement is going to come. And by the same token, the international law also recognizes this fact. So what the Prime Minister is doing diplomatically, also Ethiopia's peaceful negotiation with Eritrea, will also align with the global norms, emphasizing dialogue, legitimacy, and conflict avoidance. So the Prime Minister never said that we're going to go to the war. War never been peace, and war is not a solution. And that is not what the Prime Minister. I think we need to have that kind of perspective to see the end in the mind and see what Ethiopia is going to become in the future. Nobody would like to remain, like I said in the beginning, as albatross in one snake. That you see the chronic problem of expecting support from other countries while the leadership is tremendously altering the country in several ways. It does not mean that there is no problem. There could be problem, but while we are sorting out or ironing out all the kind of problems in connection with the country, the government with unwavering commitment is moving forward. And it's a high time, personally, to collaborate with people of all kinds in different fields of study and underscore Ethiopia's stand when it comes to its legal request of getting access to the sea. And also the Prime Minister said all people of Ethiopia in different fields, including the media professionals, should report these factors that Ethiopia's loss of the Red Sea was, of course, with a distorted story. So despite that, we should not cry over a spilled milk, but now Ethiopia, by hook or by crook, must get that one. How? Through diplomatic, lawful manner. That's what the Prime Minister mean by, I think, in its applause for that one. That's my opinion.
It does. No, there's no doubt about that. So our commitment is more leaning towards the legal and diplomatic way because it's a matter of survival, it's a matter of economic necessity, and we're not going to back away from it. That's what the PM was saying. Thanks, Bini. Once again, as we would have liked to explore more of these developmental and interesting issues, time is working against us, and we'll be forced to adjourn this discussion for the time being. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Viewpoint, your interesting and fascinating gateway to economic, macro economy, agriculture, society, a whole sort of issues coming to you live from Ethiopian Broadcast Corporation, from Addis Ababa, Africa's diplomatic capital. This is EBC World. Africa's new voice. And I'm your host, Biniam Alamayo, along with my editor, Biniam Getana, unpacking these issues. We delved into two mainstream issues raised by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed during his stay with parliamentarians. One is regarding Ethiopia's relentless pursuit to gain access to the sea. It remains a non-negotiable, but something that Ethiopia remains committed to resolve through a legal and peaceful means. And then we delved into the macroeconomy, Ethiopia's ambitious goal to become Africa's economic powerhouse come 2036, and the milestones involved. Until next week, with another issue and other guests, is bye-bye from us. Take care.